This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is June 2nd, 2005, my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host and good friend Kevin Tucker. Kev, what's up?
What's up, man? Here we are, June. Hard to believe. That means at the end of this month, we'll be halfway through 2025, which is always crazy. But time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Excited to see the NBA Finals this Thursday, the matchup you've been waiting for.
Brother,
I know you've been so pumped for this. Pacers, Thunder, just like the entire NBA world wanted. How are you doing?
Indiana, Oklahoma City, baby. I'm sure Adam Silver is thrilled.
Yes.
And David Stern is rolling in his grave. I can't believe that Adam Silver let this happen.
Here's the thing. If you want to ride the conspiracy theory, you know, it feels like maybe they got a pendulum, right? And it swings different ways. So the Luka trade and Dallas getting number one for Cooper Flag swings this way, and they're like, whoa, hold on. We got to do something crazy to throw off the scent. Let's put Oklahoma City and Indiana in the finals together. No, I'm kidding. But
no, you're not. I'm not kidding. if nothing else, it was, hey, like this time we kind of can't step in. We just have to let whatever's going to happen. Because if we do step in and make it obvious, you know, you can't have 3 earth-shattering events in the span of 5 months. You just can't.
That's so funny. I'm excited for the finals. I really am. I think Indiana actually has a shot. I know everyone's saying it's Thunder in 4 or 5, but I think Indiana can make it interesting. I know. I
hope you're
partial
right.
Bias, but yeah.
As much as it would annoy me to see Indiana win it, it would annoy me way more to see Oklahoma win.
That's right.
Go Sooners. Stop saying that. They gotta do away with that, man. The only kind of solace I would be able to find in that would be our friends over at the Uncontested. You know, our Blue Wire kind of sister podcast over there that covered the Oklahoma City Thunder. I would be happy for those guys.
Of course.
Everything else about it would suck 7 ways to Sunday.
Yeah, no thank you. I'll pass on that. But yeah, give me Indiana, hopefully.
Correct. So we are going to conclude our grading series here, as we've now done the forwards, the bigs, the guards. We're going to group the coaching and the front office together. So Jamahl Mosley and then Jeff Weltman, Anthony Parker, Pete D'Alessandro, you know, that entire team over there. Before we get to that, I'm trying to think if there's really any kind of housekeeping things. Like, shirts have all been labeled and shipped. Just need to drop them off at the post office, so those will be out. Appreciate everyone's patience. What else is there? I don't really think there's much. There's just not really been a ton of Magic news. Maybe this week we'll get something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But so far, nothing.
Yeah, something this week, or, I mean, you know, the draft is, this week it's 3 weeks away from the draft, so that's exciting, you know. Could be moves made between now and then. That's the thing. I will address this. It's one thing we've seen a lot, you know, in our Patreon Discord or on Twitter, asking, like, can trades happen? For the 28 teams that are not left in the playoffs, you absolutely can make trades right now. Now, most of the time, that's not going to be beneficial to a lot of teams. They want to wait until, you know, the NBA calendar officially turns to next season, all those kinds of things. But it's not impossible. We've seen it happen before. So a trade could happen any moment, but more than likely it's going to be after the conclusion of the finals as we go into the NBA draft. And as I've said many times, I expect if a deal is going to happen with the Magic, it's going to be on draft day or maybe the couple days before. So should be very interesting times indeed.
One thing I think is happening this week that I know everybody is going to care about is there is a new series that's coming out on Apple TV, I believe on the 4th. Starring Owen Wilson, called Stick. It's oh my gosh, the season. Okay, maybe this is the trailer, but I'm seeing a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's an Apple TV series, so I kind of have a little bit of hope, kind of held out for that. So I'm excited for that in a couple of days.
Oh, is that the golf one?
It's the golf one.
Yeah, that's why you say everybody's excited for it. Yeah,
yeah.
I see.
Well, the other thing is June 25th is Happy Gilmore 2 comes out, which I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that. It looks terrible.
I've never seen
But
the
I love
original.
Adam Sandler. You've what?
Yeah, I knew you were going to love that. I think we talked about this once before, but yeah.
Yeah,
Never seen
that's a bit of a personality issue that you
Character
have
flaw?
going on there. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's going to be terrible, but I'm going to choose to just, enjoy that anyway.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, I don't really have anything else. So let's talk Jamahl Mosley. So Jamahl Mosley, in his 4th year now as Orlando Magic head coach, he has coached 328 games to this point, Kevin. His record is 144 and 184, so that's a winning percentage of 43.9. And through 12 playoff games, he is 4-8. And his winning percentage, there have been 14 head coaches in Orlando Magic history. Have you already looked at this, or do you have a guess of where Jamahl Mosley ranks all time?
Yeah, I saw this at the end of the season.
Name everyone above him.
I saw this at the end of the season, and I cannot remember. I cannot remember what the number is.
You had to. I just give me a guess then.
6?
You looked it up, you dog.
No, I didn't. Is that
He's
right?
6th.
Let's
yeah,
go.
He's 6th.
Let's go.
Okay. Where
Come
would
on.
you rank him all time in wins?
I mean, he's been head coach longer than a lot of guys. So, is it high? Is it above or below 6?
I'm not telling you that.
5.
He's 4th.
4th. Okay. All right.
You okay? You knew the first one. You lied.
Dude, it was
and
a
then
guess.
You
I
guessed,
promise you.
and
It
then
was
you
a
guessed
guess.
5th to
It
throw
was
me
a
off
guess.
the scent.
No. This is not the
no,
NBA. I'm not. This is not rigged. Nah, bro. That was a legit guess and a very good one
Okay.
at that. I'm patting myself on the back. Let's go.
Yeah, he's 4th. He is 27 games behind Doc Rivers, who's 3rd, and then he's got 33 on Matty Gukas, and he's got almost 50 on Steve Clifford, who's 6th. Honestly, as I went through this, I was a touch surprised that he was already as high in some of those categories, because his first couple of years, like, we were almost as bad as bad gets. Towards the bottom, usual suspects: Jacques Vaughn, Chris Gent, who only coached in 18 games, Frank Vogel down towards the bottom, James Borrego down towards the bottom. But yeah, I was I guess I don't know why. I know the teams were so bad, but like, Steve Clifford was just a better coach than to end up with as bad of a record as he ended up with here. But so yeah, anyways, Jamahl Mosley, 6th all time in win percentage. He's 4th all time in wins with 144.
I was going to ask really fast.
Where's he in losses? He's 3rd in losses.
Do you have that list still in front of you?
I do.
What is how many more does he have to go to be number 1?
More wins?
Yeah.
123.
All right, so 2 seasons. We'll get it. I'm just kidding.
If he's here for 3 more seasons, he will
Yeah.
be the winningest coach in Orlando Magic history.
For sure. That's cool.
Got a ways to go with the win-loss percentage. You've got SVG up there with a 65.7. Got
luck.
Richie Adebayo, just 33 games, but 63.6. Brian Hill, 58.2. Chuck Daly, 56.1. Then Doc Rivers at 50.4. I think Jamahl Mosley, he may be able to surpass. No, he's not gonna get over 50% this year. He would probably also need another 2 to 3 years to jump up into the top 5 all time in terms of win percentage. But I mean, this year he would have a chance to jump into 3rd all time in playoff wins. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here to talk about the totality of his Magic coaching career so far.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about this year, in which the Magic finished 41-41. And just like all these other conversations that we've had, you cannot have this conversation and you cannot give Jamahl Mosley a grade without considering the injuries. Now, unlike the other grades that we've given out, we can't really knock Jamahl Mosley for guys being hurt. He isn't the head trainer or anything like that. He can only put out there what he has. So considering all of that, and I know we're both going to get into the details of how we grade, I think with players, it's a little bit easier to like have the conversation and give a grade. With Jamahl Mosley, I think this is going to be more of a back and forth with you and I, potentially. So all things considered with Jamahl Mosley, I gave Jamahl Mosley a solid B for the year.
Yeah, I think for me, you talk about the injuries. I can't, and I know there are a lot of Magic fans on social media that are maybe not a fan of Jamahl Mosley, or maybe this season made them less of a fan of Jamahl Mosley. But I cannot look at this season and look at Jamahl Mosley's job that he did this year without thinking about, if you told me in October or September that Mo was going to miss 52 games, Jalen was going to miss 47 games, Paolo was going to miss 36 games, and Franz was going to miss 20. You tell me that in September, October, I say we are cooked. I'm saying we're in the lottery, like max 35 wins, max, maybe even less, probably less. So to take all of that into account, and by the way, some of those games, Paolo and Franz out together at the same time, and yet this team ends up 41-41. That by itself, amazing. You add to it, some of those wins during that stretch should have never happened. They should have never, ever. We had some of the most miraculous wins, in my opinion, in the entire history of this franchise. Some really, really fun stuff. And I know it's a handful of them, but still, that's a handful of games. And like the conversation for that has to start with me. It starts with Jamahl Mosley, right? To instill the belief in these guys, to pull the right strings and, pull the right levers at the right time. And does he get it right all the time? No, he doesn't. Are there things that I don't particularly like about how he coaches or some of the rotations? Or of course, he's not perfect. But this team went 41-41, missing so many guys to injury for so long. And to me, that starts with the head coach. It does. The same goes the other way around. If this team was fully healthy and the team underachieved, that's on the head coach to me. It can be more than that, but you have to at least start the conversation with the head coach. So the fact that the opposite happened, we missed guys, we were 500. I think that's great. I also can't grade him without talking about the playoffs. I think his playoff performance, considering who we had, was all right. Wasn't great, but it was all right. I think you had 3.5. I mean, really, honestly, the middle 3 games, super competitive. First half of game 1, competitive. First half of game 5 was actually competitive too. I know it ends up as a blowout, but that's if I remember right, a 1-possession game at the half.
Yeah, until Tony Brothers stepped in.
That's true. I forgot. Yeah, the fouls in the third quarter. Yeah, you're right.
So you admit that it was BS.
No, I'm reminded of how you felt about the game 5 calls. So I can't give him anything less than a positive grade. All those things combined, despite him not being perfect, I'm definitely going to give him some shade of a B, as some people thought was funny on the last episode. I'm going to give him, I'll match you. I'm going to say just a solid B. Could have been better. Could have been a whole heck of a lot worse.
And to not pander, but like kind of address the people on social media. And I do think it's like the loud minority in this case of people who are like, fire Jamahl Mosley, he's garbage. Like the dumb things that get said. The thing about the criticisms of Jamahl Mosley, the extent to which some people take them, I think is a bit excessive and unwarranted. But the criticism at its foundation is not unfounded.
Mm-hmm.
There are fair criticisms to be made of Jamahl Mosley.
Yeah.
And so as much credit as we have to give him for the way that this team played in, November and in December with a ton of guys out, we also, in my opinion, have to give him a little bit of a knock of how this team performed when we were, I don't want to say, I guess mostly healthy. You were missing Jalen and Mo, but having your 2 best guys back, and I know that they were not playing the best, but like we were having to question like fight and effort and like focus and attention to detail in a lot of those games during that stretch. And is it fair or unfair to put some of that on Jamahl Mosley? I don't want to put all the blame on him, but I do think he has to have some of the blame for that stretch that this team had. And then when we talk about some of the other stuff, the rotation stuff, I feel like he's mostly good. There is some questionable things at times, like the rare instances where you're not staggering Paolo and Franz. Like the minutes that neither one of those guys on the floor is always a bit of a head scratcher. And then there are other guys, and I'm not going to rehash our other grades that we went through, but if you've been locked into this team for the majority of the regular season, you know who I'm referring to. But there are guys at times where you're asking, why is this person on the floor? They've just made, 3 to 4 bad plays in a row. They're clearly submarining this game. Why are they still on the floor? The timeout issue is still an issue. It has gotten better, but it still shows up way too frequently where a team goes on a run, where the Magic might have a 11 or 12 point lead. All of a sudden, the team goes on a 10-2 run and they tie the game up, or they take the lead before there's a timeout. Or the Magic are trailing by 4 or 5 and a team will hit, 2 threes in a row, get a turnover, hit a layup. And now they've gone on a, 12-4 run. And now it's like a 12-13 point game before a timeout is called. So those kind of things, although he has gotten better, still an issue, right? Some of the offensive stuff, like, the sidelines out of bounds stuff, some of the like after timeout, like the set plays, especially at the end of games. Now, going the other way with it, because again, there's so much criticism out there. I do feel like we have to combat some of that just really isn't true. People claim that Jamahl Mosley doesn't call plays. You're not watching the same game. If you're seeing these guys go through like multiple actions, whether it's a dribble handoff or like some kind of back screen or, a pick and roll, like players aren't just thinking of that stuff. They're not out there playing pickup basketball. If it's not ISO, some type of set most likely has been called. So Jamahl Mosley is constantly calling plays. Now we could sit here and we could argue the efficacy of those sets and calls and plays that the Magic are running. And I think Jamahl Mosley was asked a question at the exit interviews after the season ended in terms of whether or not he would consider bringing a more like offensive minded coach, onto the staff to help the offense. And he didn't say yes, but he said, we're going to leave no stone unturned, I believe was the direct quote. So I think maybe that wasn't something that happened during the season, but I think we all would have preferred that would have been addressed. Like that part of the coaching staff would have been addressed going into the season. How much of a difference is that going to make? Do you win 3 more games, 4 more games? Like you look at the standings, like that makes a difference in seeding, right? But so like Jamahl Mosley, we were preaching and screaming from the rooftops in November and December that he should have been in the Coach of the Year conversation and consideration because he was making gold out of rat crap at the time. Like we had nothing going for us. And this team was just finding ways to win games. And when you have a lack of talent and you're able to squeak out wins like that, it comes down to coaching. It comes down to culture, both of which Jamahl Mosley is largely responsible for. But then on the other hand, you have that really rough stretch in January and February. And then these other, flaws, to this point of his career that although they are getting better and have greatly improved, I would argue, since his first season, there are still things that you want to see him improve on. And I am curious of like, okay, how much longer is like the timeout thing going to be an issue? Like going into your 5th season as a head coach, that's something that you would hope has been figured out to this point. I could be talked into a B+ for Jamahl. I think a B is fair. Just some of the things that we're mentioning here, I can't get to an A, but yeah, I think a B is totally fair.
Yeah, I want to kind of go back to what you're talking about when it comes to the play calling. First off, you're right. There are plays that are called throughout the game. This idea there are no plays called is, just not accurate. I think what most Magic fans find the hardest is it feels like in close games, we go to, again, just feels like ISO ball very early. Like a lot of teams, like they go ISO ball final minute of the game. maybe final 90 seconds, right? But before that, they more often than not are still trying to run plays to get good looks. Unfortunately, I think two things happen here. Number one, I do feel, and again, it's just the optics. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just rehashing 82 games plus playoffs. It felt like close games this season. ISO ball was really early, like the last 3 minutes of a game sometimes. Like possession after possession after possession after possession. It's Paolo most of the time. Sometimes it's Franz, just ISO, 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 ISO. So on the one hand, if that is correct, if that is accurate, my recollection, I think that's wrong. But on the other hand, when you look at this team offensively this season, can you fully blame
That's where I was going to go.
Jamahl Mosley for running ISOs?
Or can you blame Paolo and Franz for going ISO, not passing the ball?
Exactly. That's the other side of this coin, right? I think there were plenty of times this season where Paolo said, nah, screw that. I'm doing this myself, for better or worse, because he knew that, sure, he can drive and get a double team or a triple team and kick it out, but then what's going to happen? Guy's going to miss it. And so I don't fully blame him for that, but I think some of that criticism is fair, though. I think it's valid. How much of that is on Jamahl? How much of that is on the roster construction? You can argue that, but I do think that's warranted. And I remember feeling that way many times throughout the season, that there was just a lot of ISO ball down the stretch of close games.
Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism. Like we've talked about the play calling, but I don't think there was enough emphasis at times, like just around like getting guys looks. Like other teams run sets, and it just feels like not super frequently because the Magic's defense is so good, but like we'll be watching games sometimes, and you saw this multiple times. Like I'm thinking back to was it game 4 that Porzingis really popped off, or was it the first half of game 5? It was later in the series when he really started to pop off, where they were just getting like open look after open look for him, like alley-oops, like backdoor, cuts and stuff like that, where it's like the Magic have to work so hard every single possession to get a decent shot. And when teams are just able to call like whatever their set is that they call out, and then all of a sudden wide open 3 or wide open lob or wide open drop off or backdoor cut, whatever the case may be, the Magic just don't really get enough of those. And it did feel like at times there wasn't enough of an emphasis of trying to get a guy like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, or if it was Tristan da Silva in the lineup or Caleb Houston or whoever, there was just never enough emphasis on generating open looks for those guys. Now, you could argue a lot of that just has to do with spacing and some of the attention that some of the other guys get. But I do think that is also a fair criticism of Jamahl Mosley as well. And again, these are, although it was overall a good season, like if you would have told us the circumstances of the health and everything like that, and said, yeah, the Magic still end up 41-41, and it's because of Jamahl Mosley, like you can't give him a neutral or a negative grade. Like, and I would just kind of have the question for some people of like, I understand the negative things that you see, but I don't understand how you completely ignore all of the positives as well. And to this point, once kind of the roster and some of the players have developed a little bit and things are, from a talent standpoint, are getting to a better place, I don't know how you come to the conclusion that the positives aren't outweighing the negatives with Jamahl Mosley.
Yeah, I've got a couple more thoughts about coaching in general. First off, we said going into this past season that for a lot of players on the roster, it was a prove-it year for a lot of reasons, whether it was contract related or fit related, or whether they fit with the core or whatever. And a lot of players proved something this year. And so I do wonder if this year, this upcoming year, if the proper moves are made as far as the roster is concerned, Does this turn into a prove it year for Jamahl Mosley? Again, not that I think he's on the hot seat or anything. I don't. I'm not even close to that. But with the core that we have, plus legitimate improvements, again, assuming they happen, this team should take a legitimate jump, especially from the 41 wins of this past season. I'm talking 50 plus, right? So if those things happen and the team doesn't make a jump, I think questions are valid. The other thing I wanted to mention when it comes to coaching is, and I know this is something you're passionate about. We've talked about it for almost a year now. Well, no, it would be, I guess it's been over a year now. Would be, we still haven't filled the vacant, and I'm going beyond Jamahl Mosley now. I'm going the whole coaching staff. To our knowledge, there's still a spot potentially open on this coaching staff that hasn't been filled. I mean, when was that? When did he leave for Phoenix? Like
Nate Tibbetts was before last season.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm almost positive.
Yeah, it's been it was before the anniversary season. So yeah, I mean, we're coming up on 2 years now since that. And so I know there's been a lot of talk, again, social media, but a lot of talk. Get an offensive guru in Orlando. Keep Jamahl Mosley as the head coach, as the head of culture and whatever you want to call it, but get somebody out there who's got an offensive mind. I'm still 100% open to that. I don't know about you. We've not heard any rumors, any rumblings, nothing, zero. But I think it's worth exploring, and I'm definitely interested to see if Weltman and Mosley work on something like that this summer.
Yeah, I would very much be open to that. If nothing else, whoever had the bulk of that responsibility last year either needs to share that responsibility or those responsibilities need to be shifted. I mean, we know that there are a ton of really smart guys on this bench, and including, Jesse Mermis and Dale Osborne, but Brett Brielmeyer, Jeremiah Boswell, Amir Bahur. Like, there are a ton of smart, capable coaches on this staff who I'm sure, maybe I'm not sure, but I would be hopeful that maybe with given some more opportunity, potentially some of those guys would be able to have some ideas that may help. And that's not that it's not a collaborative coaching staff or something like that, but like different guys just have different responsibilities. And if that's not your responsibility, your focus is kind of elsewhere. Regardless of how it comes, internal growth, you bring somebody in externally, hire somebody else, it needs to be better. It just flat out needs to be better. I think some of that is just going to get better with talent overall, and we'll talk about that in just a minute here, I'm sure. But it just feels like the offense from a schematic standpoint has not really improved, where the offense and the talent that we have offensively has improved a little bit. So, definitely very much still open to that.
This episode of the Six Man Show is brought to you by our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. Jam Hot Chicken, as always, they're bringing Jam's culture and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. We love Jam Hot Chicken because their food is amazing, but also because they are die-hard Orlando Magic fans just like us. And so, check them out over at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. Again, they're in beautiful Winter Park. You can also follow them on social media at Jam Hot Chicken or visit their website, jamhotchickenfl.com, where you can see the menu, order online, and check out all things Jam Hot. Again, they make the best chicken in Central Florida, and they're a bunch of Magic fans. So why not go support them over there in Winter Park? And if you're local to Winter Park but don't want to make the trip over to Jam Hot Chicken, they are now available on Uber Eats. So get on the Uber Eats app, order some Jam Hot Chicken, and you won't be disappointed. Whenever you do go to Jam Hot Chicken, just let them know that it was the Six Man Show that sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by Nikki Nunu, Keith Wallace, Mr. Mikey, Michael Thompson, and Gabe Gaines. These are some of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. They went to patreon.com/the Six Man Show and joined either our Hall of Fame or Elite tier. So we give a handful of those patrons a special shout out each and every episode. We have other tiers on our Patreon with other benefits. Like for as little as $5 a month, you can get access to our Discord community, where we have at this point 80 Magic maniacs and fans who are talking about the Orlando Magic and right now talking NBA playoffs and like a new Pokemon set came out. So there's all different kind of conversations happening all the time in our Patreon. We have the best community in the world. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. It's really what makes all of this worth it and makes it fun. So appreciate them. And then we also shout out brand new patrons whenever we have them. So a big special shout out this episode to Large Pizza and Brynjar Halderson. I hope I'm saying that correctly. If not, feel free to reach out to us on social media or email or on the Patreon and correct our pronunciation. Again, I've been going to howtopronounce.com for some of these, and to this point, it's not really helped me out a ton. So hopefully we are pronounced. I'm pretty confident in the Large Pizza one. Yeah. I think I've got that one down.
Yeah.
But the other one, we hope that we're getting correct. But again, can't do anything that we're doing here without the love and support of our community every single week, every single month. We're just so thankful, so grateful to all of you. And if you would like to join the Patreon and just kind of help continue to grow this Orlando Magic fan base, and really that's the whole point for everything that we do here. Again, you can head on over to patreon.com/the Six Man Show. But now let's go ahead and get back to the episode. Okay, let's move on to the front office. So we're talking about Jeff Weltman, Anthony Parker, Pete D'Alessandro, like the entire front office team. Obviously, Jeff Weltman is, the head, of that, and is really the face of the front office there. So, we might refer to Jeff, but we're really speaking generally here as a team. This front office, do we want to, I guess, go back? I think you kind of have to go back to the offseason. You can't just do an in-season grade. So when we're talking about the offseason, right, like, re-signing Mo Wagner, bringing back Goga Batadze, what else was there? Obviously, there was the Wendell Carter Jr. extension. There was the Jonathan Isaac extension, the Jalen Suggs extension, the Franz Wagner extension. And then there was the signing of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. There was the signing of Corey Joseph as well.
Did you say drafting Tristan?
Drafting Tristan da Silva, yes. Obviously exercising Caleb Houston's, I believe he had a team option this past year. What else? Bringing Trevelyan Queen back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bringing Mac McClung kind of up from Osceola towards the end of the year, adding Ethan Thompson as a two-way. And then, as we all know, during the season, did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you want to start? Because I want to say we gave the offseason grade an A.
Right. Well, yeah, I think we start with the offseason.
Do we want to defend or deny that at this point?
Well, no, yeah, let me just, I'll do both. I'll talk about the offseason and just kind of the big picture. Again, a lot of people, hindsight's 2020, you look at this past year, you say the signing of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, what was he thinking? But rewind to last summer. It was a perfect fit. It was a literally perfect upgrade to Gary Harris. Remember, Gary Harris was, for the most part, the starting two guard the season before, 2023-24. And you look at KCP and you go, he's literally Gary upgrade. Like, like the memes and the Twitter posts and everything where it's got the one picture and the upgrade button and the next picture. It's literally that, right? Like, Gary, a good defender, KCP's better. Gary, a good three-point shooter. In some seasons, KCP better. Gary, a proven veteran, right? Like KCP, proven veteran with rings, right? Like across the board, upgrade everywhere. And unless you went into this offseason thinking that Jeff should have upgraded a different position, if you said that this past offseason, I'll listen to your Fs, your Fs or your D minuses, whatever grade you're going to give for the KCP signing. If you legitimately thought we should do something else, I'll listen. But to everyone that said he needs to spend this money to upgrade the two guard position, he did it. Okay. Now, what happened in 2024-25 with KCP? I mean, it's just unexplainable, right? Like, how do you explain the drop off? I don't know. It's hard to believe. But I can't blame Jeff Weltman for that. I just can't do it. For that thing and that thing alone, I cannot blame him for that. So that to me doesn't knock his grade for the year for me. Drafting Tristan. I think jury's still out. I think Tristan was very solid this year. We talked about him on the forwards review, the forwards grades. I was very happy with Tristan this year. He exceeded my expectations. I'm excited to see what he does this year with more playing time. I can't knock him for that draft pick. Everything from the offseason, I'm okay with.
Everything?
I think so.
The Wendell extension?
Oh, well.
The Wendell extension, this is the only thing that it is tough, but it does give you just like a salary slot that is tradable.
For sure.
That. But on the other end of that, and I think that might have been no, it was, okay, 3-year, $58.65 million contract extension. So starting next season, he will be making 18.1. So this year it's still 10.8, and then the following year it goes up to 18. So it's actually, we don't really have that upgraded salary slot just yet.
Right.
And you're going to be trading him to a team and say, hey, like, just by the way, his salary is going to almost double next year.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's definitely an L.
Yeah. Probably. Yes. It is definitely trending that way after one season for sure. Fast forwarding to the trade deadline, that for me is where I've got problems, right? Like, I can't sit here and pick apart the offseason. I think by and large, he did exactly what a lot of Magic fans wanted. It just didn't pan out, and I don't think that's his fault. Trade deadline is different. I think it is his fault, and I think this team was screaming. What?
Their fault. Remember, we're grading the front office.
Sure, yes. Yes, it is their fault collectively, but at the end of the day, he's the head.
Fair.
This team was screaming, was crying out for help. You just talked about January and February were miserable. It's a terrible, terrible time for a lot of reasons.
You ever hear the old Mario song? I can hear your heart crying out for me. That was us and the Magic for a trade.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's two sides of it. Yeah, there were fans that were crying out. I think the players were too in a lot of ways, right? Like, obviously maybe not directly. It's not like they were going to Weltman's office or, whatever. But just watching them, like you said,
wouldn't that be a development?
That would be something. January and February, and it's a combination of things. Number one, the team just wasn't good. But number two, the guys that we were missing. It just, all those things combined to a miserable January and February. You know what is in February, Jonathan? The trade deadline. So all the signs were pointing in that direction. Every sign was like, this is the time to make a move. You have to do it. Get a shot in the arm to this team. At this point, we knew we were going to be without Mo for the year. And it was a little bit after that we found out Jalen was officially done for the year. Jalen was hurt at this time, right? But not officially out for the year. But just give this team a shot in the arm, right? So to not do that, to me, that's maybe even a bigger, I don't want to say bigger. It's a big L. It's a big L. And I thought really cost this team this season and has the potential to cost the team in the future. But the only thing I'll add to this really fast, when we heard his interview with Mike Bianchi talking about the line that everyone quotes now, getting squeezed, right? And how there were deals that were possible, but it would have been rentals. I don't want to say that I wish we had done that, wish we had gambled on a rental. But if it wasn't offering too much, I think I would have been okay with it. Like, having just a guy to try and help you a little bit this season, I don't think is the end of the world. Now, we'll never know what those deals look like. And maybe Jeff Weltman was exactly right in not giving up a lot for a rental. But if they were small asking prices for rental, yeah, I wish we had done it. But yeah, for me, the trade deadline, it's not great, and it potentially puts us in an even tougher position as we enter trade conversations this summer.
Yeah, I think the other kind of criticism that you can give Jeff Weltman in the front office for the offseason was the JI extension. And everybody points to, oh my gosh, this guy's already made all this money. He hasn't played, so on and so forth. Got the $25 million like pay increase basically for 1 year. But now moving forward, he's making 15 million, 14.5, 14.5, and then 15 million, right? Like that's at this point is like an average salary, like a middle of the road type of salary. It's not, I don't believe that's exactly like the mid-level exception, but like it's at least in the same neighborhood. Might not be on the same street, might not be as nice of a house or whatever, but it's in the same neighborhood, same ballpark as that. And we'll see, if that is a tradable asset, if the Magic are going to try and use that this offseason. And looking at this, there's also like guarantees built into this, right? Like 2026, 2027, $8 million is guaranteed, and then it's fully guaranteed if Isaac plays 52 games the year before, or 1 day after the 2026 moratorium. It becomes fully guaranteed after the moratorium. Okay. So at that point, basically, you could waive JI before the moratorium and only $8 million would be guaranteed if you decided to do that. And then 2027, 2028, and then 2028, 2029, it's not guaranteed.
Yep.
So
unless he plays 52 games.
Unless he plays 50 or 1 day after the moratorium. So the same thing. Like after 2026, 2027, you could completely waive him and get out of that contract.
Right.
If you're the Orlando Magic, and look, the drop off from last year to this year, if he continues on that kind of trajectory, then you probably do end up waiving him at that point or perhaps the year after, depending on how much he kind of slides. I don't personally think that will be the case, but you could pitch that to a team like, hey, like this is what we're paying him. Hey, we'll trade. If it doesn't work out, you have outs, right?
Yep.
So when you consider all of that, I don't really think it's a bad deal, for the Magic, and I think it's understandable kind of from both ends there. So yeah, like when we come out of the offseason, everyone and their mother was talking about how the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope signing was exactly what the Magic needed, how it matched their identity and improved their shooting. It gives them veteran experience, championship pedigree, all of that kind of stuff. You listen to any podcast, national or otherwise, talking about that signing, and everybody said it was a great idea. It was a home run. Now, that being said, to this point, it is probably the worst signing that they've made other than Al-Farouq Aminu since they've run this team, right? The Al-Farouq Aminu, from like day one, it was like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. It's not really working. And he was terrible the entire time he was here. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, if he's on this roster opening night and has a bounce back season where he shoots, even like 37, 38% from three next year and makes a massive difference, we're all going to take a giant like exhale and say, oh, thank goodness that this is actually starting to work out, right? And from the All-Star break on last year, it was more reflective of what we thought we were going to get. Now, the season was kind of already halfway in the toilet because of the injuries to Jalen and Mo Wagner, but you would like to see him carry that over. So going back to last offseason, I think at worst, you can give it a B, or I would argue a B plus at worst. I would still probably give it like an A minus, knocking, the Wendell, extension. Now, during the season for me, it's an F. Like you needed to make a deal at the trade deadline. It was evident to everybody. It was evident to the entire league. You didn't, regardless of the reasoning, whether it was you didn't want to get squeezed. If the reasoning and logic behind that is truly sound and is the truth, which we're taking it at face value, we're taking it at what the front office is telling the media. If it was rentals and assets you weren't willing to give up because they didn't make sense for effectively was an expiring contract, then fine, right? However, let's say it was just truly like you just felt the asking price was too high for, let's say you weren't getting squeezed for an expiring. Let's say you legitimately could get a Kobe White or an Anthony Simons or something like that, or a DeAndre Hunter. Like if you could have made a move like that and you just decided like, oh no, we don't want to attach this pick, or we don't want to attach Gary Harris or whoever, right? and you were just you just wanted to ride it out and see how things were going to go. Whatever the reasoning behind it was, it does not matter at this point. It makes this offseason, in my opinion, so much more difficult and more important. And it adds stress to it. Teams are going to have a bit more leverage, I think, than they would have towards the trade deadline. So you just, I hate to say it, you needed to find a way to get it done, right? Like that's, if we're just grading the transactions, and the logic does change my mind on that, right? Like if it really was, this was the best we could do, it didn't make sense. Like if we get a document with a list of all the offers and we look at it and we say, you know what, these were garbage, then I give them a C. But if there was a deal to be made and they just decided to, hey, this is what we're going to do, then it's an F, right? So maybe like I would settle on like a D, for the off season, or not the off season, like the regular season. I think I'm going to end up like a D plus overall, because the off season was fantastic at face value. When we went through it, we all felt really good about it. Those moves didn't pan out the way that we thought they would. And on top of that, you weren't able to improve this team at the trade deadline when they so very desperately needed to do that. So again, this is based on what our expectations were going into the season, where if you would have told us before the season, like, hey, this is the situation, this is what happens, this is where the team is in January, February, this is how the Eastern Conference standings are breaking out, do you think the team makes a deal? You and I would have said, yeah, I mean, you obviously have to, and they didn't. So for me, I think I'm at like a D plus, just below what we would have expected them to do. And again, that is considering that we all thought it was a good offseason when it happened. Didn't end up being that way 82 plus games later. But yeah, D plus for me.
Yeah, I think if I combine both sides of the story, offseason and regular season, I'm probably in the same ballpark, just to not be the exact same as you, like I was for Mosley. I'm going to say C minus. I still give
I don't hate that.
I still give a lot of weight to the offseason. And going back to like the KCP signing, it'd be one thing if Weltman took, the bulk of this money that we had last summer. If he took the bulk of that and threw it at a unproven talent, like rolling the dice, like, oh, we think this guy could be whatever.
Like what the Wizards did with Jordan Poole.
I think you could make
the grade traded, but
right,
still.
The grade a lot lower in a situation like that, right? Like you had talent evaluation, you decided to throw money, and that was a fail. I just can't put the same kind of framework around the KCP thing because he was so proven. He had done this, multiple stops. Like the NBA knows what kind of player he is. And by the way, like we talked about with the guards episode, still a great defender, okay? By and large, still a great defender, especially when Jalen was out there with him. That was a lot of fun. Offensively is obviously the conversation, but he's proven it over a decade in the league. And so I just can't knock Jeff Weltman for that. I really can't. And maybe that's wrong of me, but so again, I'm with you. Offseason, great. But again, it's the deadline, not making the move that obviously brings the grade down a lot. But like you said, we don't know what deals were there, right? Who knows? Maybe they were all terrible. The other side of it is, I'd like to think he was on the phone taking initiative, calling teams. And if that didn't happen, that can knock the grade even more. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And so I'm just going to go with a C minus for the whole season. But let me add one more thing. I'm sorry, I promise.
Oh, you're good.
We've said this many times, and this is the episode to really, really finalize it. We talked about a prove it year. This is a prove it off season for this front office. If they cannot put together a winning team around Paolo and Franz and company, it's done. It's done skis. And that might be harsh for a front office that has done a good job of putting together this core. But this is your chance. This is your summer to figure it out.
We ain't come this far to come this far.
Yeah. And we know Paolo and Franz, we got futures to worry about with them. So you can't mess this up. You got to make moves. Got to make this team better. He's talked a lot already this summer about how things are changing, win now mode, all those things. He's got to prove it. They've got to prove it. And so, yeah, it's a big offseason for them, or otherwise next summer, I think, could be a very different conversation.
And we're big fans on the show here of when you deserve criticism, we give you criticism. You deserve praise, we give you praise. Like none of, whether it's a player, coach, personnel, front office, or otherwise, like we do our best to be fair to everybody. We really do. Like there's nothing in any of these grades that are personal in any type of way. And like some people have argued that, oh, just because they fix a mess doesn't mean they should get credit because they made the mess in the first place. I disagree. Like what's done is done. They find a way to get this team out of this like kind of mess that we're in. Like right now it's like, you spilled a little bit of juice on the counter. Like we've got time to clean it up. But if spilling juice turns into lighting the house on fire, then we got problems, right? Then at that point I won't give you credit for, putting out the fire because the house is gone.
Right.
But you're able to, clean up this juice and you make me a delicious little fruit smoothie or whatever. I will give you credit for that. Maybe that wasn't the best analogy that I could have come up with, but this isn't a live show either. We could go back, we could edit that out, but we're just going to leave it.
No, we're leaving it. Let's roll.
Yeah, but if they get it right and they hit a home run, I will give them praise for hitting a home run. Like they will have deserved that. Because look, I'm just going to say they have made missteps along the way, but like they have taken this team a long way.
Yeah.
And 6 years ago, we all would have given body parts to have guys like Paolo and Franz on this team. And you can maybe critique the way that they got there, but they got there.
Yeah.
And now they have to get to the next level.
Are you in the same place as me? Like, if they don't make the right moves this summer, they're done?
I think you have to be.
Yeah.
I don't think we're at the point where you can't play around with this. Like if like the last 2 years it has like, okay, hey, you get credit for getting us here. Now the last 2 years is like, hey, like you got us here, but now it's time to get to the next level. You can't be at the same level for 3 years and be okay with that as a franchise.
Yeah.
Like there will be, I'm not going to guarantee, obviously, because we don't have the authority to make decisions, but I would feel very confident. And if we're in a similar situation next year where you have it, like, I will say if you're a first round exit next year, I would expect them to be gone.
Yeah.
Unless like, we don't know what we don't know yet going into next season, but just like speaking generally, unless you just have the absolute worst luck in the world, if you're a first round exit next year, they're most likely gone.
Something would happen. Either it's the front office or the coaching staff, but yeah,
right.
Something would have to change if that happens next year.
Yeah. Aren't these next few weeks going to be fun? We've already seen a handful of reports the last 2 weeks of just how crazy of like a transaction window this is going to be in terms of trades.
Yeah.
They're saying like we had potentially the craziest trade deadline ever. We might be having the craziest offseason ever in terms of trades. I don't know if anything is going to beat like the couple of years of like free agency when it was like Carmelo Anthony, Amari Stoudemire, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, like all that kind of like stuff going on. But yeah, like in terms of trades, I think this is going to be all reporting and signs are pointing to this being a crazy trade season.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like, when they try to predict hurricane season, and every year it's like, this is going to be the most active ever, and then it isn't. It could be that.
Don't jinx us, bro.
I'm just making the analogy. I'm not saying real hurricanes. I'm saying that happens, and then sometimes it's duds. So we'll see if this is real or not.
Yeah. All right. That's kind of the end of our grades. Like, what is something else that we could grade?
What about something like non-basketball?
Like what?
I mean, it is basketball, I guess, but like maybe not directly related to the on-court product, not the players, not the coaches, not the front office.
Like, what would you grade like our jerseys right now? Like our jerseys and
That's
like
a good idea.
the current like Magic branding. What would you grade?
That's a good
all
idea.
Of that? So we're talking about right now. It's the city jersey, like the Kingdom on the Rise, the statement jersey, and then it's the icon and the association.
Mm-hmm.
They've pretty much done away with like the blue and white pinstripes from like the Aaron Gordon Vooch era. And then obviously the current like Magic logo and word mark. Like, what? Thinking about all that kind of stuff, what would you grade it?
I'm gonna rapid fire grade each one individually and give you a whole grade. So, I'll start with the city jersey because it's just for this past year. I liked it when it came out, and I still like it. I just feel like we have too many city nights, right? It just kind of gets old. It loses its mystery factor. It's awe factors, wow factor. You only have 41 home games. So when you use half of them on city nights, I don't know, it just loses its special meaning to me. So I still like it, but wish it was a little less frequent. I'll give it a C+. I think it's all right. Then I'll go in order, my least favorite to my favorite. The white association jerseys, my least favorite of the three regular jerseys. I'm going to give it like a D, maybe. Yeah, I'll give it a D. It's all right. It's not my favorite. The black, just a little bit better. I'll give it just a C. But I got to say something, Jonathan. The statements, those are one of my favorite jerseys in Magic history, period. Like top 5. It's got everything you could ever ask for, except maybe the font.
I don't know about
maybe the font.
5.
You got pinstripes. You got the stars down the side. I love those jerseys, and I love those jerseys a lot. They're top 5 for me. Again, you change the font, it's a 10 out of 10, 100% grade. And then the logo, I mean, we all kind of know what we feel about the logo. It wasn't our favorite when it came out, and that was 16 years ago now, 15 years, whatever it was. I guess it was 2010, yeah. So, now I don't love it. It's just very corporate, very blah. All in all, I'm going to give our current branding and logo and jerseys and all that kind of stuff just a C. It's just all right. It's fine. It's not terrible.
Mid.
Yeah, it's mid. But I will say maybe I'll give it a C+, because that statement jersey just holds a lot of weight for me. I love that jersey. I'm going to go C+.
That statement jersey's making up for the last 16 years for you?
I mean, look, if you're going 16 years, I was just talking about this year. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just sticking with it. C+. It's fine. There's way worse out there.
Okay, I want to do something really quickly. You said top 5.
Yep.
So what else is in the top 5 for you? And are we doing like different iterations? Like there's now been 2 Stars jerseys, because there's the old, was it Adidas or was it Reebok, the first iteration of the Stars jerseys, and then there were the Nike Stars jerseys, like the classics that came out last year.
No,
are we doing?
I don't know.
So you're just putting those
blue stars. That's
as one.
Yeah, to me.
All
so
right.
For me, like in no particular order, it's the 3 pinstripes, old school pinstripes. It's the blue stars, and it's this one. To me, this statement jersey.
It's probably, it's very close with the white stars. Like you could argue either. I think at worst it's probably 6th. At worst, I would probably agree. Top 5, I would put it at 5. But at worst, it's probably 6. I'm trying to think. Like nothing from like the Grant Hill, Dwight Howard era, like the box. Just those are the worst of the worst. The only thing that is worse was like the anthracite gray and orange stuff. To me, that is just so bad. And then trying to think, like you go from the best of the best, the pinstripes, into the stars, and then you go into the box stuff, and then you go into all the Adidas with the fanned pinstripes.
Yeah.
All of that is pretty low. The city jerseys with like the galaxy kind of stuff, those are okay.
Yeah.
And then you go into the city stuff with the orange, like the white and orange are okay. Probably still towards the bottom, probably like bottom third towards like the middle. And then, yeah, I mean, the earned jersey from a couple years ago was really sick. That's probably somewhere in the top 10. And then, all right, so I'll give my grades here. So yes, the statement jersey, definitely an A. The Kingdom on the Rise, the city stuff, I do agree, probably lean into that a bit too much. But I still really like them. I think this year's was my favorite version of those, so I'll give those a B. And then the icon, the black, and the association, this is going to be a hot take. I know everybody hates the white. I like the white better than the black jerseys. The white is just like it's very clean. Like it looks good if you just want to like wear it casually. The black one for me, it was always hard, and black is like my color of choice to wear. Like, you know, it's my wife's favorite color on me. For anybody out there wondering, right up there with like a nice like forest green. She loves the way I look in forest green. Might have to go throw that Masters polo on that she likes when I wear. I might have to go throw that on after we're done recording here.
Okay.
This is the 6-man show after dark at this point.
Okay.
Totally kidding. Maybe. So yeah, I would probably give the association like a C, and then give the black like a D plus. And then the logo to me is a D. And I'm right there with you. I think overall right now we're at a C. Just, you know, overall with the branding. And yeah, people have been, you know, clamoring for a refresh for a long time, and hopefully we'll get that at some point.
Maybe, hopefully really soon.
That's going to do it for this one. For Kevin Tucker, there's been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the 6-Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the 6th Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6th Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!